What we see on the slide over here are three different abatement choices. When I say abatement, what I mean is ways of reducing particulate matter emissions. The first is multi-cyclones. Multi-cyclones can arrest particulate matter and reduce the particulate matter emissions down to about 250 milligrams per normal cubic meter. But unfortunately, they'll only arrest particles larger than 5 microns in size. Multi-cyclones work as you will see on the following video. We see the gas entering, the dirty gas, full of particles. The gas enters through the spinner vanes through the individual cyclones and spins down inside the cyclones. The particles are flung to the cyclone walls and they exit down the bottom of the cyclone. They then sit on top of the first flap inside the multi-cyclone and are exited out of the second flap as shown. It's important that there are always 2 flaps to maintain a seal. What happens to the yellow gas is when it reaches the bottom of each cyclone, it has nowhere to go. It can't exit out the holes at the bottom because there's nowhere for the gas to exit outside of the multi-cyclone housing. And so the gas spins to the bottom of the individual cyclones, reverses its path and spins in a smaller spiral back up the center of the cyclone and exits out of the vortex finders at the top as cleaned gas. Unfortunately, many of these multi-cyclones have been in industry for many years and have not been opened up or inspected inside. And so here are a couple of photographs of the condition of the individual cyclones inside of the multi-cyclone. You can see that there are many cuts and holes because of the abrasive nature of the particulate matter. This next video shows some of our inspections on these multi-cyclones. You can see that some of the footage is of multi-cyclones that are in really good condition and have no holes, and some of these multi-cyclones are completely eroded away and there's almost nothing left of the individual cyclones. It's no wonder that we measure high particulate matter emissions in excess of 1,000 milligrams per normal cubic meter in some of these applications. Now this graph is very interesting and it's really important to take note of this. Multi-cyclones do not always pull the emissions down to 250 milligrams per normal cubic meter. Multi-cyclones work optimally at a specific flow rate of gas. And what that means is that on a boiler, where the load on the boiler varies all the time, and therefore the flow of flue gas through the multi-cyclone varies all the time, you have varying performance of the multi-cyclone. So this graph shows us that the efficiency of the multi-cyclone actually increases the more gas you put through the multi-cyclone. And that makes sense. Think of it like this. You're driving your car around a turning circle. The faster you drive your car around that turning circle, the more centrifugal force you will experience. Likewise, the more gas you put through these multi-cyclones, the faster the gas spins inside each individual cyclone, and the more centrifugal force is experienced by the particles. And so the particles are flung to the outside, and there's better separation. The more force, the better the separation. As you will see on the graph, that's up to a point, an optimum. And after that, the efficiency begins to decrease as the particles are just re-entrained and turbulence is introduced inside the individual cyclones. There's another important thing to notice. Let's go back to my analogy where I'm driving around a turning circle. Let's say that in this second analogy, I don't increase my speed. I do the same speed around the turning circle, but instead of it being a big turning circle, I find instead a smaller turning circle. Because the turning circle is smaller, I will experience more centrifugal force. And so what we find is that modern multi-cyclones consist of many smaller cyclones inside of them, which subject the particles to stronger centrifugal forces because the individual cyclones are smaller. Back to the original point. The takeaway from this slide is that multi-cyclones vary in performance and the emissions vary over time. That's not great if you have to meet a legislated limit. So what's the solution? If multi-cyclones are not the optimal abatement equipment, if they vary in performance and if they degrade over time, what is the optimal solution? The answer is bag filters. Now bag filters, as you will see from the slide, capture particulate matter emissions and reduce the emissions all the way down to 15 milligrams per normal cubic meter, 1.5. And they capture all the smallest particles down to 0.2 microns in size. The problem with bag filters is that they're more costly to install, they require more maintenance because they have more moving components, such as compressed air and typically a rotary valve at the bottom. Let's take a look at this video of how a bag filter works. What we see is the dirty gas entering and hitting a baffle plate. The baffle plate distributes the gas up through the bags, and the particles are captured on the bags, and clean gas exits the top in the clean air plenum. We see the particles building up on the bags, as shown over here. And as the particles build up, they form a layer on the bags, and that causes a pressure drop over the bag filter. When the pressure drop reaches a certain set point, compressed air is injected into the bags, as we see. And compressed air is injected one row at a time to clean one set of bags at a time. And for this reason, the bag filter does not need to be brought offline when it's undergoing cleaning, which is a fantastic attribute of bag filters. As we see, the particles collect at the bottom of the bag filter, and they are extracted from the bag filter using a rotary valve, which prevents air getting drawn into the bottom of the bag filter. Bag filters are not the only solution. What we see is that electrostatic precipitators are also a great solution, and unlike bag filters, electrostatic precipitators can be specified to reduce the emissions just down to your limit. Bag filters will always reduce particulate matter emissions down to 15 or 20 milligrams per normal cubic meter, and must be sized based on the pressure drop over the bag filter unit. Conversely, there's very little pressure drop over an electrostatic precipitator. It's essentially a big empty box with charged corona plates, and you can make the box as long with as many plates as you want in order to reduce the emissions to the level that you desire. That's the advantage of ESPs. The other advantage is that they can deal with particulate matter when you are combusting biomass. Typically, bag filters don't handle biomass particulate matter well because of the fire risk. Often that particulate matter is still burning and there are combusting embers which could combust the bag filter. The other thing about ESPs is that they can deal with gases of a very high temperature. So for example, in the glass industry, you might have temperatures exceeding 400 degrees centigrade on your flue gas, and bag filters can't deal with that. Bag filters can only go up to 260 degrees centigrade. So ESPs come into their own in certain applications, such as the firing of biomass and high temperature flue gas applications.